Hi, Kevin Wright here, back again with another property finance update. So what are we going to be talking about this week? Well, the coronavirus, obviously very topical at the moment. So what's happening with property finance lending generally across the board, and what is a good way to use the time if you get extra time, if you're stuck at home, what's a good way to be using that at the moment? So stick around, and that's what we're going to be talking about this week. Coronavirus, I was going to say it's everywhere, but yeah, it is, unfortunately, sadly, but it's the topic that's dominating conversations, media and everything else, with very good reason, obviously. So what is the situation with lending, mortgage lending and the wider property finance lending? Well, I guess you could say the response is fragmented. We're going to drill down and have a look at that in a minute or two, and also what are some good things to be doing right now if you can't get out and view properties in the way that you've been used to doing them before. So just a bit of scene setting, if you like. So businesses large, small or anywhere in between have had a bit of a mountain to climb, I guess you could say, since the outbreak of the coronavirus. Now, there's not a business around that when this really broke out, and certainly when the lockdown happened, just said to themselves, right, let's go to our business plan and look at what was our contingency planning for a pretty much total shutdown of the economy. No one's planned for that because no one expected it to happen. We haven't had anything like this in terms of a contagion for at least 100 years. So the reality is businesses large, small and anywhere in between have been making up policy on the hoof, making up as they go along and trying to work out the decision makers in any business, whatever level that is, to how they can, if they can trade and how they can trade. And obviously there's a lot of sectors in the economy that sadly are not able to trade at the moment, and that must be catastrophic for those and those that work for them. What about property? Well, there are a number of component parts or steps of the property buying process. So you've got agents at the beginning of the process, where you would normally arrange a viewing. You've got brokers and mortgage lenders and mortgage valuers who go out and view the property, and then solicitors that tie the whole thing up together legally. There hasn't been a real coordinated response from all of those areas, and the players in each of those particular areas have made differing decisions on how they're going to cope. And let's just highlight the main options that businesses have got in the property lending arena. So, and I think it boils down to some of them decided that it's not practical given their circumstances to trade, so they're shut. Some are conducting some sort of business online, but without the need to actually travel, and others are adapting more to online business than others. So let's look at maybe each of those in turn. So agents. Now, some agents are just shut. Some agents are open in terms of they're probably working from home, but they're still advertising on Wright. Their properties are still for sale. They're still taking inquiries, but they're not doing much else. Now, some of the more enterprising agents have worked out that you can do virtual viewings. It could possibly be the agent going out to the property and either live or recorded taking a camera and doing a video tour, or possibly getting the owner of the property to do a video tour. So you can still view the properties, but virtually. And that word is, we've heard that some times over the last few weeks, haven't we? Virtually. Everything is happening virtually now. So, it's still possible to view properties with certain agents. Now, some brokers can be open, again, because they can communicate with property investors, they can communicate remotely with lenders. And lenders now, some of those are open for business, some have really almost shut down, some are open for business. But the biggest issue with lenders, really, well, there's two that involve typically human interaction. One is a valuer going to value the property, and lenders pretty much uniformly want to have a valuer go and value the property. Yes, there are desktop valuations and drive-by valuations, but predominantly lenders, mortgage lenders, bridging lenders, development lenders, have always wanted to send someone out to actually physically view the property. And of course, that's been a problem at the moment. So we're seeing valuers, again, different companies, fragmented response. Valuers are saying that some are saying, no, we're shut, we're not doing any viewings, we don't view them as an essential journey, so we're not going out to view properties. Others are saying, well, we'll go as long as the property is vacant. In other words, as long as there's no human interaction while we're at the property, we'll visit. Others are saying, well, we'll go, but we won't go in the property, we'll do a drive-by. And probably a common response is to do a desktop or automatic valuation model and use their database and use whatever due diligence they can get to come up with a realistic idea of a value. But of course, that's less reliable than someone actually visiting the property. So you've got four strands there that of different ways that valuers are reacting to the lockdown. So those lenders are different. Some of those are deciding, no, we're not taking on any new inquiries. We'll just work with the ones that we already had. Others are taking new inquiries, but warning that the processing is going to take longer because there's remote working and there's maybe not fully staffed because there's going to be some people that are self-isolating. So it's logical that processing a mortgage application right now is going to take longer, and a greater reliance on AVMs, automatic valuations, or desktop valuations. Now, how are they responding on that? Well, again, fragmentedly. And, this is, as I said, businesses, large and small, are just working this out as they go. So it's an ever-shifting landscape. And lenders are revising what they're doing, not necessarily day by day, but probably week by week in some cases. So there's again a fragmented response. Some lenders have stopped lending altogether, and some lenders are lending but at reduced loan to values, and that's their way of mitigating the greater uncertainty of a desktop valuation. Others maybe initially lowered that, and now they're raising their loan to values again. So different responses. What we have seen is some of the more out the way esoteric products been withdrawn. So, for example, serviced accommodation, short-term let models, holiday let model. So those type of products have been withdrawn. Commercial lending on commercial properties, that's been withdrawn by a lot of lenders, simply because they can see an increased risk of lending to those people. People aren't staying in holiday lets or short terms. Businesses often aren't running unless they're an essential service, but everyone is still living in a home. Everyone still needs a home to live in. So residential is seen as a lower risk. But the more out there types of property, So non-standard construction, anything that's a bit out of the ordinary, they're probably either not lending on or scaling back their lending on. So it's that type of thing. So and solicitors again are choosing to say, some are saying we're shut, some are saying we'll work remotely, and some lenders are now saying, well, okay, the second human interaction bit is that a number of lenders want you to go into your solicitor's office and for your solicitor to witness the signature to release the money, the final security docs. And a lot of bridgers want to see this. So those more pragmatically minded bridgers are saying, well, okay, let's see how we can do that, and let's see if we can work a different way. And solicitors, sometimes they're emailing you the PDF of the security document, and they say sign it, put it back in the post. Okay, that works. So that's a different way to do it. And there's probably some Zoom calls going on as well, where they're actually they are physically watching you sign it. You're just not in the same room as you would normally be. So it's still possible to buy properties if you've got a seller that's really selling. So and I think the situation is going to become clearer as each week goes by, and businesses get more time to work out how they can possibly trade. And of course, the next stage is going to be when we come out of lockdown. So at this point in time, we don't know when that's going to be, and we don't know which businesses, which industries are going to come out in what order. So it would seem logical that the ones that have the biggest issue with breaching social distance guidelines are going to be the last ones, or at the back end of those to come out. So where would properties sit in that? Well, probably towards the front, you would think, wouldn't you? Because it's a fairly sizable part of the economy, and also relatively easy to operate whilst observing the social distance rules. So, if you want to go and visit a property and view it, well, if it's vacant, no problem at all. If it isn't vacant, then it's possible for whoever's living there to make sure that they're always in a separate room to you, or as far as they can. So you can move around and navigate the property without breaching that 2 metre social distancing. If it's a nice sunny spring day, maybe they can stand out in the garden for 5 minutes, or go in the street. It's possible to operate property as a running business with some relaxation of what you're allowed to do, but only time will tell on that. So what's a good thing to be doing in property right now? Well, 2 things, I think. One is researching and lining up deals to you can go and view when you're allowed to do it. And secondly is getting some education. If not everybody is at home, obviously, so there are essential workers and that are continuing to work. But if you are forced to stay at home for the duration of the lockdown, then getting some education. Now there's plenty of stuff around. There's webinars, there's YouTube videos, there's blogs, there's a lot of stuff that you can immerse yourself in property wise to maybe educate yourself on a new strategy that you always meaning to do but maybe didn't get round to, with the pressures of normal daily life. But you've got a bit more time now, so that would be a good opportunity to do that. So what's going to happen with property? Well, when we come back from lockdown, some people are saying there could be a drop of in property values of up to 20%. Could happen, might not. And if it does, you have to factor that into the purchase price you're paying. So that would be clear. So I think what we could see, and again this is just speculation, is that there's a bit of a splurge of motivated sellers, people that now have some urgent need to sell their property. Now they could be people that you want to do a deal with. Now I want to be very clear on this, that's not about exploiting people and bottoming out a price, but it is giving them a fair price that allows you to make a margin on whatever your strategy is for that property. So it's a great time to be storing up a bank of potential deals that you can possibly do. So there we sort of have it. There's a roundup of where lenders are at the moment, but of course that's changing all the time. The component parts of the property, when we could possibly hope, fingers crossed, that we get back to a functioning property market, and also some things to be doing in the meantime while we wait for that to happen. So I hope you're all healthy and fit and ready to carry on with your property career, your property journey, and I'll catch you next week.